Hello, hello, and welcome back to Zekism. And so, he's here. Mephisto has arrived in the MCU. Debuted, massively teased throughout the promotional campaign and sort of leaks from scoopers and stuff that say he was coming. So, yeah, he's here. Mephisto is in the MCU. Debuted in the finale of Ironheart. Was revealed to not be the big bad as such, but be sort of a facilitator of things. As the sort of, he is the devil of the MCU, so to speak. He's a cosmic force. I don't know what to describe him as, but yeah, he's a big bad. Didn't show up in WandaVision. Didn't show up in Agatha all along. Didn't show up in Spider-Man No Way Home, which would have been a perfect place for him because he is that position in the comics. And didn't show up in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. No, Ironheart, which there's no canon for, so you can hear in my voice I'm being a bit cynical. But nevertheless, Sacha Baron Cohen has debuted as Mephisto. That will come back to that. Anyway, we'll give my thoughts on Ironheart as a whole. I was quite critical of the first 3 episodes. It wasn't really working for me. There's a lot of fan love for it out there, and there's a lot of fan hate for it. It's a very Marmite show, despite what the online critical response seems to be universally positive. Which personally, it's not a show that's working for me. Each to their own. Respect everyone's opinion. I definitely operate with that being the case. But I really struggle to not comprehend, that sounds really dismissive. I don't mean to be dismissive of other people loving the show. I just can't really fathom the amount of love for it. Like, they're not saying it's okay or it's good or elements of it are good. They're saying it's unbelievably amazing, which I can't really if you're going to put this up there with Loki or WandaVision or even Agatha all along, I can't really do that. I don't think it's a well-made show from a personal point of view. That said, I think episodes 4, 5 and 6 were better. Definitely better than the first 3. I think I'd seen that sort of fan or sort of critical response anyway. They said that the last 3 the episodes were going to increase in quality, and I think that has played out relatively well. The pilot episode 1 was definitely the worst. It was awful. Again, sorry, but it was. And so they did get progressively better. I think episode 6, the finale, was the shortest episode, weirdly, but it was the best one. And I think probably because not only did it resolve the sort of storylines, or sort of at least put a pin in them, or put a nice bow around them, it definitely sets up a season 2, which we may or may not get, but it was the most interesting episode from my point of view, and it's probably because it was mainly there for the wider MCU as a whole, because Mephisto being debuted into the MCU was the most interesting part of the show, to be honest with you. As brutal as that sounds, and I still can't get or shake my feelings of the show. I think episodes 4 and 5, which I think are important to not forget, were a significant step up on 1 to 3. I think the most interesting characters for me in the end have been Parker and Zeke. Zeke, with his journey into darkness, I guess, and to becoming Ironmonger, the villain that we know him to be. And I think actually it looked like Alden Ehrenreich was having fun. He's having fun in that role, and I think that's good to see. And if he's going to be a sort of villain on the TV side, I think that's the perfect place for him. Parker, I wasn't sure what would happen to him. He's seemingly sticking around as well, because there was an interesting post-credit scene, which I won't spoil. But so yeah, things got resolved as well as continued for season 2. Whether we see that or not, due to the reception of this show, it'll come down to the ratings, I imagine. If it does very, very well on Disney Plus, I could see them doing it, especially if you've got Mephisto now as the big bad on the TV. Well, say on the TV side, we got the report from Marvel Studios, and again, I'm circling around this, but that they were going to focus on more street level stuff. So an Ironheart probably wouldn't factor into that because that's not street level, and I imagine the CGI budget on this was pretty high compared to like a Daredevil Born Again or a Punisher one-off. So that's interesting to see what's going to happen going forward. I still struggle with the characters in the show. I mentioned it in my video from last week. The characters are so unlikable. They really are. I can't. Riri, for a start, is a hard character to like for lots of reasons. But if I focus on her portrayal in the show, Dominique Thorne, who plays Riri, is clearly an actress who can act. She's demonstrated in the show she's a very good actress. So actually, the criticism isn't actually leveled at her, in my opinion. But the character's flaws, where you need to not just empathize with a character, or not empathize in general, but you need to be able to want to see more of that character. And I struggle with wanting to see more of this character. In terms of what struggles did she really have throughout the show? I mean, she started the show sort of being able to do everything in terms of, well, she's a genius and she doesn't need anyone, and yes, she lost a friend of hers, but she can do everything, and in the end she can do everything. Even now has gained the ability to use magic, which I know is canon. I know it's in the comics, but I don't believe it was popular with fans when they did it in the comics. And on the show that they've put forward, where she's not really likable anyway, to give her more power without seemingly taking anything away. And I am going to spoil something here. The end of the show ends with not her doing something heroic or root. You can't root for the character doing what she does. She does a deal with the devil. She doesn't tell him to stick it or tell him to get lost or something. I don't, even though I'm going to get what I want, which is my best friend back, and I'm going to resist that temptation because that's what heroes do. No, she takes the deal with the devil, furthering any fan resentment you had towards it. So that's a hard thing to reckon with. And the frustration for me is I don't want to side with the chuds online who are hating on the young female black lead character. But you can't help but agree with the chuds online because the show hasn't done enough to sort of help people like me who want to like what you're doing. And look, you may or may not know, I'm a wrestling fan. I do have a sister channel, Zegasm Wrestling, but that aside, it is from storytelling point of view, and I know this is wrestling, but it is sort of hero versus villain in that world as well. A common, if not tried and trusted method in terms of storytelling is making the hero likable or empathetic through adversity. I don't believe Riri had near enough adversity in this show to get around that issue. And I know that's sort of a one-note take on it, but it is the hero's only as good as the villain they're facing or the adversity they go through, and making someone earn it. And I think this is doubly the case with this show, where you've got a character that isn't particularly popular with people. There's going to be criticism towards her. Let's basically have her coast through the show, commit crimes, do things illegally, and in the end win the day. Oh, and by the way, she's going to sell her soul to the devil to get further things she wants. I think is an odd take, and I don't know where this goes from here. It's baffling a little bit from their point of view, and I gotta be honest, what I said in the first video, poor storytelling, and they haven't done Dominique Thorne, bless her, any favours whatsoever with trying to get this character over with fans. Where's her adversity? She can do everything, and in the end now even has magic combined with her genius, combined with the fact that the popularity, she's popular amongst her loved ones. They sort of, she can do no wrong in their eyes as well. There's no adversity. I think it's strange. It's really strange. And that's just not the recipe to make a character popular organically. And I name checked two names in the last video, Kate Bishop and Ms. Marvel, even Wiccan, I think I threw her in. The characters who had baggage amongst the fan bases, the characters that I personally wasn't really interested in seeing, on the big screen, or in the MCU in general. But you know what? By the end of those shows, I liked them. By the end of those shows, I wanted to see more of them. And by the end of these shows, they overcame the resistance that I had as a fan to see them. And actually, no, I think they're valid additions now, and I want to see more of them because they did a good job in the storytelling in those shows to make that character likable or empathetic or whatever they did. But that's my point, and that's my comparison point. And it's just it's really, really strange, and I don't want to hate circling back to the common complaint online is about the MCU and the fact that Marvel was looking to replace legacy characters with female equivalents and go down that route. You're doing the job for those people. You're doing the job. What am I trying to say? You're doing their job for them by doing things like this, because you're having Riri essentially displace and replace the most popular character in the MCU ever, Tony Stark, Iron Man, and you've got her being the most disingenuous sort of way round it, almost dismissive of Tony at times. And I know it's subjective because I've seen some other reviews that sort of liked the show and said I don't necessarily agree that she does. I think she does. She really dismisses his legacy off the bat and doesn't really circle back to. And I said, my idea in the first video was that if it had been, and if they'd planned this properly, had Riri be that little boy in Iron Man 3, then we'd have a link to her, and we understand why she wants to look up to Tony. But she doesn't want to look up to Tony in the show. In fact, she wants to replace Tony quite off the bat and almost dismiss his legacy. It's really odd. So that's my frustration in a nutshell. And I know, like I said, the show has sort of failed Dominique Thorne, who showed that she is a really good actress, and no doubt is getting abuse online. And I assume she is. And if you are sending her crap online, please have a look at yourself. Leave her alone. She was good in this show. She was. She just wasn't good enough to overcome the hurdles that Marvel and the creators have done to her here. Ryan Coogler, I don't know how involved he was, but he's to blame as well. His name's all over the marketing, so I've got to assume he was involved. And they've made her job incredibly difficult to defend the show. And obviously, she's the face of the problem. And I don't think she said anything controversial to warrant it, but she's going to get abused because she's playing the character. And the result is me standing here as an online chud saying, I have had no excitement for season 2, which I don't. And that's not, I don't think that's on me. And I know I'm standing on a bit of a soapbox with this, and I don't want to be one of those people who makes videos online and moans about TV shows. But when I'm a fan of something and I'm thinking, why have you... I feel sorry for Dominique Thorne. I don't think she's done anything wrong to warrant abuse, but she's going to get it because the show's not what it should be or what it could have been, and that's a disappointment for it. And also, there's so many baffling things that happened in it. Like the final battle lasts 2 minutes between Riri and Parker. They've been setting up the clash. And it ends in 2 minutes. In fact, Dominique Thorne, Riri, fights with Zeke longer than she does with Parker. The fight was over in no time. Anyway, so yeah. I guess look, is it a recommendation? Probably not. But is it a recommendation to? I think you should watch episode 6 because I think episode 6 is going to be important going forward because of the huge debut of Mephisto. But the show itself isn't a good show. There, I said it. And I think although the episodes get better, 1 was the worst, 6 was the best, and I think they do get progressively better. I don't like what they did in the show, which is I don't mean to sound mean-spirited, but you've got to call a bad show a bad show. And I'm the biggest Marvel shield. Ask anyone who knows me. I'll defend them to the hilt. This isn't a good show. It isn't. And I in terms of excitement levels, for anyone who cares to know, I wasn't looking forward to Agatha. I thought the marketing for Agatha was pretty poor as well, on a similar vein to this. But Agatha delivered in the quality. I was really surprised with how much I liked all of the characters that they put in the show. They made them all likable. They made them all not necessarily funny, but they made them have a point to being there. And yeah, I think this show is not for me, but I don't think it's a good show either. So there you go. There, I said it. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? There, I say it. If you want to leave me a comment, that's absolutely fine. All are welcome here at the channel. I've got no reservations or qualms about discussing, having open dialogue and discussions. If you think I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong and tell me why. Not a problem at all. Otherwise, please leave me a like and subscribe in the comments. Leave me a like and subscribe on the channel. That always helps. And I'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye bye.